Hey guys, actually have a few minutes before my son comes out. I got to take him to the DMV to get his first driver's license. Hopefully he passes the test today. But in the spirit of trying to put something kind of brief out each day, I wanted to kind of do a testimony, if you will. A lot of times I speak to people. I travel quite a bit across the country. And I try not to go political, but every once in a while something comes up and it just warrants a conversation. And a lot of times people say, why Trump? Or they'll tell me, why are you for the president? And before I get into why they dislike him, which is kind of a separate conversation, I tell them how I got to where I am. Here's an interesting story. About 2011, 2012, when Romney and Obama were basically going head-to-head for the presidency, one of which I thought Romney was a shoo-in to win. There was no reason at all, based on what Obama was doing, that he shouldn't win. And I saw him fold. I saw the puppet masters, if you will. And I'm a big believer in the fact that there are puppet masters, what I call the deep state, that kind of pulled the strings. And I saw Obama didn't want it during the first debate. He literally was not in it. Romney was rolling over him. And in the second debate, he clearly was shaken back in line to go after him. And Romney started pulling his punches. So in any event, that all being said, for the longest time, I was getting increasingly frustrated with our leadership. When the Bush Sr. would say, "Read my lips, no more taxes," and we saw taxes. So we constantly had people going into the big office and not delivering on what they said they would deliver on, constantly. And it became increasingly clear to me that there was much bigger hands at play driving and dictating our country and how we the people are affected. And I said, you know what? And I was saying to myself, and this is before Trump came into the scene, before I even gave him a second's notice. I said, we need someone. I was just getting pissed off. And we need someone to go into that office. We need someone to be a bull in a china shop. We need someone, frankly, just to kick some ass and take names and just go after it. We need someone like we the people. We need an organizational CEO that understands the balanced budgets, understands what money means, understands, how to show a return on investment, has some fiscal responsibility and some fiscal sense to them. That was my head. And then I happened to be going through an airport one day, and I picked up the book, Time to Get Tough. And this was a Donald Trump book. I, again, never had read any of his books, just looking for some light reading material. Time to Get Tough was kind of resonating with me as a title. And I read that book. And that book, every page through it, I was like, hell yes, that's exactly what needs to be done. Hell yeah. So if you want to know what Trump's doing and what he wants to do and what's driving all, read that book. It's almost like a playbook for what he is going for. So that's number one. So I was like, hell yeah. So around 2011, 2012, I was at a dinner meeting. It was an internal dinner meeting that we were having, and we were all talking politics and talking about the Romney and Obama. And it was one side that was pro-Obama, one side that was pro-Romney. It was getting a bit exhausting, but I said, you know what, guys, and this is 2011, 2012, let me close this conversation by telling you one thing. And that is, Donald Trump is going to run for presidency in 2016, and I bet you anything he's going to win. Everybody laughed. I thought it was kind of funny, but everybody laughed, and we all went our separate ways. And again, I'm not saying I'm a prognosticator. I'm not saying I'm a fortune teller or anything like that. But I find it interesting that I had a hell yeah moment reading his book. I saw leadership, and I saw that he was thinking about running for presidency or reading that book, and that he was going to do it. And I just knew that our country was exhausted and was ready to do just that. So when he came down the escalator and he ran, I had the utmost confidence that he was going to win. I loved the fact that he hits back and he doesn't take it. A good example is, I don't remember who the presidential candidate that was running during the presidency of that, during the campaign of Trump, but he said something to the effect, white lives matter, black lives matter, all lives matter. And he got beat down by the PC folks and he apologized for it. I was like, no, why the hell are you apologizing? That's exactly the right thing to say. So our politicians through PC kept getting knocked down and not saying what was really on our minds or what we wanted to say. So he hits back, and he hits back, 10, 100 times fold when someone comes after him, and I absolutely love it. I'm tired of people. Why does the president have to be so politically correct? Why does he have to be so presidential, if you will? So long as he's leading, so long as he's delivering on his promises, so long as he is bringing value to that leadership role, so long as he is orchestrating and moving the needle in the right direction and not just talking about it, but delivering on it, I'm all for it. Also, when I vote for a president, I'm going to give him the 4-year runway to do what he said he's going to do and to bring value. So I'm not going to go ape shit, if you will, against him if he says something wrong or if he does. And there's some things that he's done or it seems he's doing that I'm not cool with, but at the same time, I'm a big picture person. So one of the things probably worth noting is that I'm a macro person. I look at the forest. I see the big picture and I look at the big picture. My wife is opposite of me. She's a very tactical, very in the woods person. So we balance each other out quite well. So I look at and I see the big picture, and that's how I view things. He's in a hornet's nest. He is a single man in the middle of a system that's been built up over decades, if not centuries. I'm a big believer that there's a deep state mechanism that's running the whole show. I'm not a Republican versus Democrat, though I've always leaned towards the Republican side of things. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a First Amendment. I'm a Second Amendment person. So long as those values hold true and dictate and govern where our country goes, that's where I sit. And anybody that supports that, I'm for. And I believe Trump kind of fits in the middle, frankly, between. I've also been predicting that there's going to be a new party that forms. I think the days of Republican and Democrat may fall to the minority, and I think there's going to be a new party that forms out of all this. So that's my testimony. People have asked why. I'm kind of in sales. I'm kind of in marketing. I appreciate and understand spin. I appreciate and understand, sometimes a little inflection on the truth is not necessarily a bad thing if it kind of generates the right results. So when people say he lies, so I talk to people, why don't you like Trump? The only thing I've ever really gotten out of people that give me anything is that he lies. And I ask them, so what has he lied about? And then I'll tell them, what I don't like is when someone tells me no more taxes and I get taxes, when it hits my pocketbook, when it hits whether I can keep the lights on. When I have someone tell me, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. When that affects my bottom line, that affects my dollars, that affects my day-to-day, minute-by-minute life, that bothers me. When someone bends the truth around the budget dollars or unemployment or things like what I call it's sales marketing ship, if you will, I'm okay with that. So I've never heard anybody give me a really solid reason as to why they hate Trump. And that takes me to propaganda. So the deep state, and again, I'm not going to lean on Democrats or Republicans. I think Republicans are just as bad in a lot of ways. When I look at the deep state, they're tight with Hollywood. They're tight with our media. If anyone out there can't see that Mockingbird and the media and Hollywood are all in cahoots, basically molding the minds of America, then you're completely a zombie at this point. The propaganda engine of the media is manipulating the minds of our people. You've probably heard the term, if you say a lie often and long enough that it becomes fact. That's where we are. So that whole Russian collusion thing, even though Trump did the right thing to let it play out, it's so ingrained in people's minds that he's guilty, even though there was no proof behind it, that the Mueller report being done means nothing. Look at Adam Pencil Neck Schiff. I mean, he's still pushing that narrative. So I knew that was going to happen. So I've called into some radio shows and I've talked to people and I've told them it's going to get worse before it gets better. I truly believe that. I think there's a war going on. Even though it's a different kind of war than we've ever seen before. It's a war of minds. It's a war of propaganda and narrative spinning. Anybody that believes in post-birth abortion, anybody that believes in open borders and letting illegal non-citizens just pour through our border, anybody that believes in illegal aliens being able to vote, there's something wrong with that. As a country, we have borders, we have laws, and if you follow those laws, we can live in harmony and peace. At the end of the day, we as people just simply want peace and harmony. That's all we want. And these things that the deep state are pushing are definitely contrary to that. So there's a whole host of things that I see at a macro level that I can get into. But I just wanted to put that testimony out there as far as why I believe in our president, why I believe in we the people. The president is a voice for we the people. He is a leader that's kicking ass and taking names and a bull in the china shop. I love it. He's making things happen. And a lot of times, shaking the trees exposes people for what they are. So I think in a lot of ways, it's very purposeful, a lot of the things he does. I've actually heard him say, even though you kind of want him to be quiet about it, is, create a smokescreen so you can get things done. I heard him say that once upon a time. I was like, exactly. That's what he's doing. He's shaking the trees. He's doing things purposefully to expose people for what they are. And I think that's what's going on. So I think that there's an inflection point. It just hasn't happened yet. The deep state is trying to create an all-out war. What's happening with the Second Amendment is scary. And I think it can very easily kind of tip over to an outright conflict to see who comes out on top. I don't know. I'm for our president. I will be behind him. I'll give him his 4-year berth to do what he needs to get done. He's already done more than any other president I've ever noted. So I'm happy about that. But we do need to think about how we shape the country, how we shape laws, how we shape the state of the union so that when he's gone, we can continue that progress. Because I fear we do all this great stuff, he's gone, another politician gets in there, and they just screw it all back up and put it back where it was. So I truly believe that there'll be a second term for our president. I truly believe that if the voting system is fixed, I completely think the voting system is completely corrupt, and that it is actually being spun and manipulated to get what they want. That scares me. But my hope is that if a true and fair election is done, that what we're trying to do as we the people will be more than sufficient to get him in office for another 4 years to continue this pace. But I'm behind him. We the people are behind him. President Trump is a voice and a leader in front of we the people, and that's my testimony. So hopefully this resonates with many of you, and I'm sure there's lots of people out there this may trigger to some degree, but I'm always open to dialogue. I want conversation. I like intellectual, non-emotional conversation. I got off Facebook because it was getting to where people don't really listen to each other anymore. They just argue and they get emotional and get triggered, and it's sad. So I'm on kind of Twitter only, and I watch a lot of alternative media news through Twitter and through YouTube, and don't watch news much anymore. I try to watch Fox occasionally, but even they are starting to get so corrupt, it's hard for me to bear them as well. But anyway, certainly like to hear your opinions and thoughts around this, and I think more of us need to voice and put out there our thoughts, because I think there's a lot of channels going down, and I think we need to keep doing what we're doing here. And I think this effort individually needs to grow for sure, so long as it's available. Anyway, peace out. We'll talk soon.